From all of you, because yes, we had good cup of chai and coffee and some biscuits. Few must have hit some Dakar also. So good afternoon, everyone. Can I have a response? Oh, sounds great. So thank you so much for giving this opportunity with the esteemed panel here. Uh, Today we have one little bit of a serious topic to start our afternoon session or early afternoon session, which is on emotional intelligence. We have an esteemed panel here who will basically give us their views and how they are incorporating emotional intelligence for education in their daily lives. So I have a small case study here. There is this girl called Deepa. She's been studying quite religiously and been topping school in terms of grades. She's always been number one in a school. And one fine day, her grandmother expires. And she got a personal loss of her, of her family loss, of a close grandmother, which she was very close to. And suddenly her grades started dipping, okay? The teachers, the faculty members, the friends couldn't figure out what's going on. And day in, day out, she got into this introvert mode from an extrovert mode. Finally, a situation came in that they got a counselor, and they realized that her EQ level was lesser and her IQ level was higher. They got it changed, and apparently her numbers started shooting up, and she came back to number one in terms of the school ranking. This is actually a live case which has happened, and this really was thanks to the school teachers and her parents and everyone who had initiated, put together. Welcome, sir. So I have a question to throw the panel, that how effective is emotional intelligence in the learning experience of students? Where do you find that being part of the game in today's narrative? Yes, Dr. Kothari.
Thank you. A nice case study taken by him, wherein he spoke about, first, hello everyone, meeting you for the second time since the morning, and thank you for being there. And a very interesting case that happens too much even post-COVID. It used to happen before pre-COVID, but then post-COVID such cases are increasing, wherein how the trauma changes the lifestyle of one person compared to other, how sometimes the whole style of a person change because of one quotient changing to another quotient. I'll take 3 more minutes to adding to his case studies which are more global in nature, and that will let us know how these emotional quotient or the social quotient or the intelligent quotient plays an active role in today's education, and all of us being educationists will understand how to add these quotients in different aspects of our education system.
Okay.
So I'll take the first case like how you said.
Right.
The 11th and 12th results get announced.
Okay.
And the moment results get announced, next 2 days you see the newspapers, you will find a few suicides here and there.
Yes.
A similar case study to what you said.
Right.
In this case study, you will see that a sudden dip in the EQ compared to the IQ.
Right.
Let's look at the second case study, which is about the Ukraine and Russia war. This war is going on, and you see impact of so many lives across globes, across nations, and you still see that the decision on the war has not been stopped. You'll suddenly see that one of the quotient is working stronger than the other quotient in that person who is taking the decision there. Now let's take the third example. A very interesting example which is just happening now is the Sri Lankan crisis. Never did anyone think that Sri Lanka would come to this crisis which is going on today. It happened because a few of the decisions that were taken by a few of the senior people in the team there affected the whole calculations which they thought would be an a good move by the government turned out to be a failure by the government. Again, suddenly IQ prevailed over some other Qs and that IQ didn't work. So with these examples, we do understand that it is very necessary to, and in the case that you said, it is very necessary to have good level of all these quotients in a particular human being. And who is responsible to see that these quotients are at the right and the specific level? Of course, one talk about parents, but to a very good extent, the education institutions, you, me here, play a vital role to see that all these quotients are at the right level. Before we get into it, one of the psychologists or many of the psychologists have spoken about 4 quotients. One of them is IQ, which we all know about, intelligent quotient. Second one is EQ, which is emotional quotient. The third one they spoke about is SQ, which is social quotient. And the fourth one, which has been very strongly spoken about in the post-COVID era, is known as AQ, and that is adversity quotient. It is like how do someone work in an adverse scenario and comes out winning in that area. So I hope, yes, this panel discussion today looks at all these 4 quotients and also looks at what level each quotient plays a vital role. Just to tell you, at ISBR Business School, where the new batch of students come in, we spend the first 33 days wherein you don't touch the textbooks or the syllabus or the courses of the students at all. And we come to what you said, your case study. We move the students to field trips, allow them to network. We have cultural activities. You have dramas, you have their hobby spirits, you have them postings on LinkedIn, Instagram, you have them knowing each other, you have them first knowing their faculty also. So that means we build over their EQ first. We bring them into close circles. Only then we inject into them the so-called IQ. Then the faculty goes to the classrooms and starts working on IQ. The IQ, mark my words, gets stronger into these pupils than it would have been done in the old system scenario where they would have just started with syllabus from day one. So that's what I think I would like to talk about it. I hope as we go deeper into it, we look at all these quotients and good levels.
Right.
Thank you.
Dr. Reddy, what's your take on this? Yeah, it's okay.
Good afternoon, friends and co-panelists and delegates attending this conference and summit. Particularly, this session is meant mostly emotional intelligence, how it helps for cognitive learning. That is the basic philosophy of this session. What is actually emotional? EQ, that is called emotional intelligence. One as manages self-awareness, self-control, self-motivation, relationships, and understanding oneself and also understanding others' feelings. That is actually emotional intelligence. How intelligent, because most of the activities, case studies given, emotional stress management, stress control, impulse control, these are essential for any human being, whether a CEO of the company or an employee or a student or a faculty or a businessman. Emotional management, intelligence is very important. Sometimes what happens is cognizant. Cognizant ability is nothing but ability to understand new knowledge, how to acquire knowledge. And reasoning, basically cognitive is reasoning, whether logical, mathematical, or spatial, or relationship. It's basically understanding the reason. So most of the cases he referred, generally IQ level, intelligence. So intelligence is nothing but, it's a capability to understand, acquire knowledge. So IQ quotient is 20%, but EQ, emotional intelligence, should be 80%. Then only outcomes will come. Even though normally people think that intelligence is there, IQ level is there, he is successful in life. It is not so. Intelligence is only 20 to 30%. Rest of the emotional control, relationship management, stress management, adverse condition, how react, understanding others' feelings, listening, the leadership skills, talent management, and how work in team. These are essential in emotional. It's called EQ. Actually, my colleague panelist, he said 4 EQs, but we have only EQ and IQ, both are important. So in most of the cases, EQ is, that is intelligence, emotional intelligence is 80%, and that is cognitive intelligence is 20%. So that is the actually desired component in the students mostly, because they have a capability, cognitive ability. We can compare like EQ and IQ. Simple example I'll give you, like a ship in a ocean. That is EQ is nothing but sailor. That means he has to move, motivation, moving forward. But moving forward any direction. That is the cognizant, that is IQ level, which controls the track, which track the ship has to go. So that is the track maintaining this one. So say this EQ and IQ, these are good example of a ship. How it has to move forward, motivation required, but maintaining the direction and control. These two are one of the simple examples to understand the student. Similarly, cognitive abilities are important for a student community or anybody, matter of fact, any product development. So basically nowadays we are talking about artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? Human intellect, the capability of logic, mathematical reasoning, then understanding capacity, that is human intellect is simulated and fed to the computer, and computer take a decision, that is called artificial intelligence. Similarly, we talk about machine learning. What is machine learning? Using a mathematical logic, we develop an algorithm. You teach the machine using algorithm, machine take a decision. Whatever we want, the machine will take a decision. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, simple example of how the IQ level or cognitive intelligence. These two should be managed with a emotional stress management or emotional control or impulse control or team working, talent management, leadership skills. These are essential for anybody's success in life. So ultimately, what is required is outcomes. So outcomes are important. So now even education also, outcome we are talking in terms of knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. Yeah. These are only 4 words matters in education. We are talking about outcomes. Ultimately, whatever the products shown by Ardor Communication and other panelists talked about, ultimately outcomes are important. How do you get outcome? So knowledge is important. One's own knowledge is important. Second thing is skills. Unless skill is there, one cannot develop any product or conceive anything. Skill is required everybody, because skill is required in driver also. Everybody is not a good driver, skilled cook. So these skills are important. Skills are 2 kinds. One is the personality, communication, and analytical skills. Personality is very important. One's personality. Communication, communicating with others. Somebody is good at knowledge, but he won't speak out. Unless speak out, others, they won't understand. So communication is important. Communication, somebody speaks in Kannada or Telugu or Hindi or Urdu or Marathi or English, whatever is there, whatever you speak, other person should understand. That is the communication, any language. So personality, communication, skills are important. So that is soft skills we are talking about. Everybody talking about soft skills, stress management, leadership skill, how one has to conduct and all that. Personality important. How do you conduct yourself? Earlier, when in my younger days, when I was studying school level, teacher come with a chapel, but nobody used to bother that time. That time knowledge was the only, but today teacher has to be smart. Otherwise student won't accept in classroom environment. So personality is also important, skill is important, communication important, attitudes, attitude, behavior. Most of the institution now, MBA institution, BBA or engineering institution or any degree institution, when IT companies come, second is the knowledge base. First thing they will see, soft skills are there or not. Personality, communication, how he behaving and all that, behavioral attitude. So these are important. So ultimately, what you are driving a point is, Rosto, in fact, moderator mentioned on a case study, emotional stress management is most important. Impulse control, relationship, how to behave with the self-control, because we should understand what are our feelings, what are others' feelings. If you are able to understand, then you can able to manage society. So that's why what is any product, even though intelligence is very important, IQ is important, but emotional intelligence is more important than real intelligence, IQ. This is what actually difference between emotional intelligence, cognitive intelligence. So how emotional intelligence is going to help the students or anybody or faculty, how it is going to help in learning process. So learning process is nothing but process of acquiring knowledge, skill, motivation, everything. I think this is what I think I wanted to stress.
Thank you, Professor Reddy.
Maybe I
Very
will not take
well.
much time, other speakers.
Very well thought and very well described. Thank you so much. Dr. Kumar, what do you have to say about this? Your thoughts.
Thank you very much. As my colleagues have already spoken well, the need for emotional intelligence is felt more in the post-pandemic COVID-19 period of critical situations in educational institutions. Historically speaking, in educational parlance, the German educationist Benjamin Bloom, he classified educational objectives into 3 domains: cognitive development, affective development, psychomotor development. As you know, cognitive development is the development in knowledge, which we call intellectual development, cognitive development. It has many subdomains also: knowledge, understanding, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. But unfortunately, the present-day educational institutions are so busy in concentrating only on the cognitive development at the cost of emotional development. So emotional intelligence has become a casualty in the digital era, where knowledge packaging of digital communication has gained prominence. The century of speed, everybody is busy. Like fast food service, we have digital packing, knowledge packaging in digital communication, short learning objects. E-learning has become very popular because it can be accessed by anybody, anytime, anywhere. So gone were those days when teaching depended on teacher alone. Now, teacher is one of the sources of learning. The contemporary students learn through internet teacher, multimedia teacher, e-teacher. And he compares who is more updated, more resourceful, more versatile. And the students come to a conclusion that the human teacher is not that much updated, not that much intelligent. The very survival of the teacher becomes a question mark. So it's an era of competition. So that way, all these things make so much of stress upon the teacher that the teacher has less time to spend on the development of emotional intelligence. So that way, it is very important that it is the high time we talk about, not only we talk, but we take care of the development of affective domain also. Because in my perception, cognitive development and affective development, emotional intelligence and intelligence are the 2 sides of the same coin. One without the other will be useless. So it is a judicious balance that every teacher, every parent, every administrator has to make on combining the care and attention to be paid for both cognitive development as well as affective development. And now, there is a sudden, especially after the pandemic crisis, there is so much of talk about what is called digital diligence. Our adolescents, teenage boys and girls, college-going youth, they should be trained, tutored in what is called how to make judicious use of digital learning, what we call e-maturity. E-learning is important. Equally important is e-maturity. How mature are our students in making use of the digital technologies? And not only our students, but even the parents. This e-maturity is essential for everyone. So that way, this e-maturity is a combination of elements like e-attitude, attitude towards e-learning, and then e-readiness, their mental preparedness, and most importantly, e-safety, how safe they are, how knowledgeable they are in e-privacy, the privacy measures. Because we come across so many media news about suicides, number of suicides committed due to cybercrime and all these things. So that way, it is very essential that we sensitize them on how to make an emotionally balanced a balanced way of using digital technologies for because nowadays it has a digital, not only digital learning, digital life has become a way of life. Yes. We apply digital technologies not only in education, but in all walks of life. So it is very essential that we avoid ourselves becoming digital addicts. So how to be away from digital addicts? It needs some intelligence, some affective development. So that is why time and again it is stressed. What we need from present universities, present colleges, institutions of higher education is not only supreme intelligence, but superb love. Not only loaded learning, but utter integrity. Because if you just keep on concentrating on cognitive domain alone, intelligence development alone, it will ultimately lead to promoting a brilliant beast. Yes. He may be a brilliant person, but that brilliance can be used. There is a danger of using that brilliance for destructive purposes also. So for using it for constructive purposes, it is very essential that it should be channelized with the proper emotional intelligence. So it is very essential to culture the heart and cultivate the mind. So that institution is best, which teaches the art of living and science of being, which teaches intelligence along with emotional intelligence. So that way, it is the high time we talk about interpersonal skills, leadership qualities. See, we come across many instances where great academicians, great scientists, once they become administrators, they become poor administrators. It is because their intelligence is different, their emotional intelligence is different. Right. And just because a person has IQ, high IQ, we cannot assume, we cannot take it for granted that he has a high ratio of EQ also. So these two things are very much different. And in fact, the Greek philosopher Aristotle has very rightly told, very long back, we need a sound mind in a sound body. So that way, it is that emotional intelligence is very essential to understand and to balance not only our emotions, but also to understand others' emotions also. That is what is called empathy. Feeling others' feelings and making ourselves adjustable to create a conducive environment in the organization, in the classroom. So that way, these are all the things which strengthen the conviction, the concept that the emotional intelligence is very effective for the cognitive learning experience of students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Pearls of wisdom, so many points. Okay, and it was really lovely knowing your points. And now I'll leave to Dr. Indiresh. Can you give your views on this, sir?
Good good morning to everybody, my co-panelists in the panel discussion. In fact, I'm an agricultural scientist rather than an educationist. I think in fact, I told the Dr. Chandan, the CEO, that I should be included in the entrepreneurship development program rather than in the cognitive learning session. But still, I will share some of my experience as an agricultural scientist in the agriculture education, how it has come up in the country, in the state, the role of farm graduates in the development of the country. So to tell totally, I am coming from the Horticultural University, Bagalkot, which is located in the northern part of Karnataka. Totally, there are about 57 agriculture universities in the entire country. In Karnataka, we have 6 agriculture universities. So in that, ours is one specialized university, which is mainly focusing on horticulture education. And in the education, agriculture education, lot of reforms have been made. So for all the agriculture education, the education syllabus, monitoring of academic regulations, everything is finalized by we have one nodal agency at the national level. It is called Indian Council of Agriculture Research, located at New Delhi. That is the agency which formulate the syllabus for undergraduate and postgraduate education for the entire country. So the significance of ICR is that the entire country, in all agriculture universities, the syllabus is uniform. There will be no syllabus. The syllabus will not be different from one university to university. The entire university will have a uniform syllabus, uniform academic regulations. Everything is same. So that way, they have streamlined the agriculture education at national level, and all these developments in the agriculture education will be monitored by ICR New Delhi. So in all agriculture universities, the admission process is through the All India Entrance Examination conducted by the ICR. At the state level, the exam is Karnataka Examination Authority conduct the common entrance test. Based on that, the students will get admission. In addition to that, recently, the government of Karnataka has allocated 50% of the admissions in all agriculture institutes should be reserved for farmers' quota. The students who are coming from the rural areas, that too from the farmers' sons and daughters, the 50% of the seats are reserved for in the admissions in the agriculture universities. Of course, in the KEA, in all agriculture universities, we get the students with very good rank. That is one. Nowadays, there is a lot of demand for admissions in the agriculture universities than other professional courses. That is one thing. And one more interesting thing is, way back in 1980s, there used to be 1 or 2 girls students in the BSc AG or BSc Horticulture, other allied agricultural programs. Now, for the last 7-8 years, the girls student strength is more than the boys. In all universities, the 65 to 70% of student strength is girls in the agriculture university. This is the transformation which has taken place. Now, a lot of girls are joining the agriculture universities for pursuing their professional education in the field of agriculture, and they become very successful graduates also. And in the morning inaugural session, Professor Thimmegowda was telling about the new education policy and its highlights about the 3 years, 4 years program. In agriculture universities, whatever the recommendations made by the new education policy 2020 by the government of India, this was already implemented 10 years back in all agriculture universities in the country. We have both, it is a research intensive universities. All agriculture universities are research intensive universities. All our degree programs are research based. That is one important aspect. Even for master degree or PhD, the students have to work for 3 semesters on research project, and based on their research outcome, the students be awarded the degrees. And in our undergraduate system, the first 3 years, the students will going to study about the various courses, allied subjects, and which involves both theories and practicals. In the last year, that is in the 7th and 8th semester, the students will be exclusively meant for hands-on training or experiential learning methods will be adopted, implemented in the 7th and 8th semester. We call it as student ready program. In the 7th semester, the students will undergo experiential learning program. In the 8th semesters, they will go for the rural work experience. In the 7th semester, what we do is all students in each colleges will be allotted different experiential modules. Some of the technologies they identify, we provide all the infrastructures to the students. A batch of 10 to 12 students will be provided with the infrastructural facilities of the colleges, maybe required land, ply houses, irrigation, imports, and all that. The students have to prepare the business plans. They have to work for the entire semester. They have to learn a lot of skills, how to grow the crop, how to maintain it, how to take care of the crop, then spraying, control of pests and diseases, harvesting, marketing, then processing and end user. All these things will be learned by the students during this experiential learning period in the 7th semester. And some of the net income return will also, the students will learn. They will gain some income also. Whatever the expenditure is met out, it will be returned to the concerned revolving fund. We call it as revolving fund projects. In the 8th semesters, the students will be sent for compulsory 3 months village stay practicals. They have to stay in the villages for continuously for 3 months. They have to mingle with the farming communities. They have to stay with them. They have to learn what are the difficulties faced by the farmers. They must visit the fields. They have to organize the training programs, demonstrations, guidance to the farmers, technical consistency. All these things will be given to the farmers. So this way, the 7th and 8th semester is mainly meant for skill-based education, project preparations, then innovative practices. Now, as all of you know that there are a lot of developments have been made in the field of agricultural science. Now the use of digital apps, as told by our co-panelists, this use of artificial intelligence, blockchain management, then machine learning, all these have been now gaining a lot of importance. To give an example, now we have started using the drones for spraying the fields. We call it as agricultural drones. Very vast area of agriculture crops, field crops, or any perennial crops. Nowadays, we are finding a lot of difficulty in getting labor. So by using the drones, it is very safe and very effective, and within a time limit, we can do it, and we can save a lot of money. So this use of drones is very useful, and farm mechanization is now become a very important aspect because of this labor problem. Starting from sowing till harvesting, we have highly mechanized implements. Our machineries are available. Now the farmers have started using this because there is no other alternative. And even for processing and value addition of the farm produce, as our Prime Minister was implementing a project called One District, One Program in order to improve the doubling of the farmers' income. So in this aspect, by adding value to the produce, the farmers will gain a lot of income. So in this direction, all agricultures have been provided with these infrastructural facilities at the university level. And there are so many aspects I can discuss
Sir,
about the
we
education.
have, sorry to disturb, sorry to stop in, sir. We have a time
Thank you.
constraint here.
I think I will not take your time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my
I'll
views
just,
in this panel discussion. Thank you all.
thank you for your value information here. But just to throw a question to the panel is a very practical question here. How do we address emotional quotient at the early stage of the education? What is happening? Today's parents are giving status to the new age education. Could it be robotics, could be coding, etc., where they always say, my son is doing that. Somewhere down the line, we are missing this EQ word. So if, like Dr. Kothari said that his management school basically develops this for the first 30 days, can we start looking this in the early stage of the career so that we have greater future leaders? I have friends of mine who had topped the IITs and IIMs, but they're still at the mid levels because they have not got the leadership roles. And most of the time I have to tell them your EQ levels are lower than your IQ levels because IQ levels are great. They're par and up there. So how do we now incorporate this in the early stage, and what are your views? And while there is a paucity of time, if you can sum this up, then we can actually close this round. So.
Yeah, under new education policy, particularly this emotional control issue was addressed for school level and college and university level. That's why the more flexibility is given, because that's why they are stressing on pedagogical level of teaching. Pedagogy means what type of pedagogy we have introduced: nursery, first standard, second standard, up to fifth standard. So pedagogy is important. So the school level pedagogy we maintain, but nowadays concept is like Western countries, they learn while playing. They have a multimedia, they have a games, there's so many other inputs that go in for children to learn, so that their stress is not there. But our education system is more stress, faculty, teacher based. So more stress on children. To ease that, under new education policy, under the name of pedagogical teaching. So this learning while playing, that was the concept introduced in the school. Similarly, schools and colleges also more flexibility is given. Only 50% in the classroom, rest 50% in the field, outreach activities, games, sports, extracurricular activities. So that means 50%, even coming to college level, university level also, 50% in the classroom, other 50% they can choose electives like music is there, dance is there, economics, business practices, management, so the fashion communication, fashion design, digital marketing, business analytics. So they have given a choice of the student wherever they want. Actually, Western countries implementing last 20, 30 years.
Yep.
So they insist only 40% for the core. Rest 60%, they can go to any school, they can acquire knowledge. That's why student is not under stress. Their own idea, own intelligent, own way of thinking, they will do. But Indian system is, ours is British legacy. Ours is taught 3 years degree, 4 years engineering, 2 years MSc. That means structured program that is taught by Britishers. But it no longer works in India. I think we have to change our, what is suggested by national education policy, Western model of education, so that student is less strained and their outcome, emotional stress control will be there if this kind of flexibility is given for education.
Yeah. Dr. Kothari, quick 2 points from your end.
Okay, a very interesting one. First one, at ISBR, what we have done is we have started a 360-degree mentorship.
Nice.
This 360-degree mentorship includes mentorship at faculty level, at corporate level, at international level, and at peer level.
Okay.
This has worked, and it's important. The second thing what we have done is the cells and clubs in its true sense, and deeply worked with students. They actively not only manage the institution, but also takes complete wholesome decisions. So productively engaging them in the right thing,
Right.
disconnecting them from what they should not connect with is what has worked. Yes, in school systems also this has worked, and the students have now been aware first of the importance of EQ over IQ. Examination systems have been moderately come down, and the high amount of time that has been spent on the children's development is more than an examination system. I think these have worked.
Fantastic. And Dr. Kumar, a quick thought on this to conclude the...
So just I would like to supplement a few observations. This panel discussion can end up with one recommendation it can make for policy making, that the grade card, the mark list, as a result of the examination at the school level, at the college level, at the university level, it reflects only the intellectual cognitive development. There is no indication of EQ, what we talk about emotional intelligence. So unless something is linked with the examination system, nobody will take it seriously. Neither the administrators, nor the teachers, nor the parents, nor even the students. So it is the high time that we evolve, revise, redesign the curriculum at the school level, at the higher education level, that this emotional intelligence is a part of the curriculum, not only part of the curriculum, but the part of the examination system also, by which we can know the rating of a student in terms of his EQ,
Right.
where he stands in terms of his EQ.
Right.
So there is a very important indication which will be very useful for potential employers. So
Yes.
that way, we have number of standardized tools which are available in the market to test emotional intelligence. In addition to the available standardized tools, we can also go for adopting our own tools. I mean, we can develop our own indigenous tools, locally tested, culturally tested, to test the emotional intelligence of our students. So rural students, urban students, how their socio-economic status,
Right.
their background, how they influence the emotional intelligence, and
Right.
how it can be molded. So that way, we sensitize them, we make them aware of this concept. Thereby, we are helping them to cope up with the stress, the anxiety, and the emotional balance. So
Okay.
that will be a very valuable contribution of this panel discussion as
Okay.
well as this conclave.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. With this, we end the panel discussion here. We would like to thank Dr. Indiresh, Dr. Kothari, Professor Reddy, and Dr. Kumar for giving such value inputs. Would like to give you a very long and strong applause. This is going to be one of the biggest future conversations amongst the future kids. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
I think as he is ending and as we are going across, what I'll just do is, I have a 2 minutes of video on this, which tells you why it is important to disconnect, to reconnect. And the video is ready. May I ask them to be played? The Ivy League institution across the world, one of the prominent ones, have stopped using of laptops in classrooms. And that's an example which has been portrayed here. So, yes, my team there, please.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Very nice.
I
Brilliant.
think the future needs people with strong IQ with a very strong foundation of EQ. That's what
Agreed,
it is.
agreed.
To request our Crasto sir to please provide appreciation of tokens to all our eminent panelists.
Sure.
Dr. Manish Kothari, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for enabling us to learn that there should be a balance between EQ and IQ. Next, we have Dr. R. Karpaga Kumarave, sir. Further next, we have Professor D.N. Reddy, sir. Next, we have Dr.Indiresh KM, sir. Now, I would like to request Dr. Manish Kothari, sir, to please provide the token of appreciation to Ron Crasto, sir.